Hey, today I'm going to show you how to solve absolute value equations. But before we get started, there's some things that I need to make sure that we remember. Number one, absolute value is always positive. Always. Non-negotiable. Absolute value will always end up a positive number. If we take the absolute value of a positive 4, it's going to be a positive 4. If we take the absolute value of a negative 4, it's going to be a positive 4. It's always going to be a positive number. It can never equal a negative number. No matter what I put in this inside this absolute value, no matter what number that I put there, it cannot equal a negative number. If your absolute value equals a negative number, I need you to tell me that it is no solution. There's nothing I can put there that can equal a negative number. It will always be positive. Okay? But here's the thing. If I put this in there and I say, look at this. If I give you a situation like this, my goal is to get my absolute value by itself. Once you get your absolute value by itself, get absolute value by itself. That's your number one thing. You've got to get your absolute value by itself. Meaning, is there anything in front of my absolute value? No. Is there anything behind it right here? No. So my absolute value is by itself. And then you ask yourself, all right, does absolute value equal a positive number? Yes, 16 is a positive number. If my absolute value equals a positive number, then I'm going to work it two ways. Okay? The first time, you're going to copy it almost like you see it. In this case, I would say n plus 7 equals 16. But you have to work it two ways. The second time, you're going to take the opposite of what it equals. So I would say n plus 7 equals a negative 16. So you're going to work it one time as a positive 16. You're going to work it one time as a negative 16. All right, so let's work it. Let's solve the equation. Minus 7 minus 7. This is gone. N equals a 9. Is that a good answer? We have to check. If you put a 9 right here, if I put a 9 and I go 9 plus 7, that is 16. What is the absolute value of 16? 16. So this is a good answer. It checks. Minus 7 minus 7. This cancels. N equals a negative 23. So we're going to substitute it in. We're going to say negative 23 plus 7. That equals a negative 16. What's the absolute value of a negative 16? Well, the absolute value of negative 16 is also 16. This checks. This is a good answer. They're both good answers. If somebody plugged in and it was not a true statement, you would have to cancel that answer. Okay? Let's try another problem. Here's my absolute value bracket in red. Is my absolute value by itself? No, it has a minus 10 at the back of it. So what I need to do is I need to move this to the other side. I need to get my absolute value by itself. So I'm going to say plus 10, plus 10. This will cancel. My absolute value of 6 minus 6k equals 30. Is my absolute value by itself? Yes. Does my absolute value equal a positive number? Yes. So now I can work it two ways. I can say 6 minus 6k equals 30. And what do we do on the second time around? You have to take the opposite of this number. You would say 6 minus 6k equals a negative 30. So you're going to work it two ways. We'll do the math. We're going to go minus 6 minus 6. This will cancel. Negative 6k equals 24. We divide by negative 6, divide by negative 6, k equals a negative 4. Did we say that my variable could not equal a negative number? No, we never said that. This could be a good answer. We're going to check. We're going to make sure. We're going to put a negative 4 right here. Negative 6 times negative 4 is a positive 24. 6 plus 24 is 30. The absolute value of 30 is 30. This is a good answer. So just because you get a negative value does not make it bad. We said that absolute value could not equal a negative number. But we never said that your variable couldn't equal a negative number. All right, let's work this half. All right, so we're going to go minus 6 minus 6. This is going to cancel. Negative 6k equals a negative 36. When I divide by negative 6, I get k is cancels. I get k equals a positive 6. We're going to check and see if this works. So when I substitute in a negative 6, excuse me, a positive 6, let me get a positive 6 in there. We substitute in a positive 6. Negative 6 times 6. Negative 6 times 6 is a negative 36. 6 minus 36 is a negative 30. What is the absolute value of negative 30? It is 30. 30 equals 30. That's a good answer. Okay? Let's keep going. Let's try another problem. Here's my absolute value. I need to get it by itself. I have this in front. I need to move it to the other side. So to move it to the other side, I'm going to add 1. This will cancel. I have negative 7 times, because it's up against the wall, that's negative 7 times negative 5 plus 2p absolute value equals 77. Now, even though it's up against the wall and it means multiplication, never, ever, ever do distributive property. This is absolute value. It's not a parentheses. Do not ever do distributive property. But what we are going to do is we're going to get rid of this. We're going to move it to the other side. We're going to divide. We're going to divide by negative 7. We're going to divide by negative 7. This will cancel. I'm getting the absolute value of negative 5 plus 2p equals 77 divided by negative 7 is a negative 11. Is my absolute value by itself? Yes. Is my absolute value equal to a positive number? No. So remember what we said. Can absolute value ever equal a negative number? No. So when you get absolute value by itself and it's equal to a negative number, You shut it down, you stop right there, and you say it can't happen, it can't work. This will be a no solution. But before you make your decision on your no solution, you move everything that's in front or in back, but you have to get your absolute value by itself to where there's nothing here or nothing in the back, and then you make the decision, is it equal to a positive or negative number? If this is positive, you work it two ways. If it's negative, you stop and say no solution. Let's try another problem. In this situation, it's a little tricky. You have a variable on the inside, you have a variable on the outside. You're going to have to do a little bit of work, but you have to check to see if you have what's called an extraneous solution. So what extraneous solution means is we can solve the problem, but when we check it, when we plug it back in and check it, it does not make a true statement, so we kick that answer out. That's what extraneous solution means. But we're checking to make sure if we have any answers that we need to kick out and get rid of. But let's work this problem. Is my absolute value by itself? Is there anybody at the back? Is there anybody in front? No. So if that's the case, we get to work it two ways. All right, so you work it two ways. Copy the first time, remember what we said? We copy it just the way we see it. 8 plus p equals 2p minus 3. Do you remember what we did on the second part, on the second equation? We took the opposite. So when we take the opposite here, we have to take the opposite of both of them. So this would be 8 plus p equals a negative 2p. Take the opposite, that becomes a positive 3. You understand? Copy just the way you see it, and then the second time, take the opposite and take the opposite. Now we solve the equation. Minus p minus p. This will cancel. That will leave me with the p right there. Move the 3. Plus 3 plus 3. 8 plus 3 is 11. We need to check and see if this makes a true statement. So I'm going to plug in 11. We're going to put in 11 right here. And we're going to put in 11 right here. 8 plus 11 is 19. The absolute value of 19, 19. 2 times 11 is 22. 22 minus 3 is 19. 19 equals 19. This checks. That's a good answer. Let's solve this one. We're going to move this to the other side. We're going to go plus 2p plus 2p. 1p plus 2p is 3p. We're going to move the 8 to the other side. Minus 8 minus 8, that equals a negative 5. Everybody good so far? You're going to divide by 3. You're going to divide by 3. You're going to get p equals a negative 5/3. Is this a good answer? I don't know. We have to check. Is it possible my answer could end up being negative? It's possible, but we're going to plug this in and see if this turns out to be a true statement. So I'm going to go back to my original. I'm going to put in, let me change colors. We're going to put in a negative 5/3. I'm going to have to add that together, and then I'm going to come over here and I have to substitute in a negative 5/3 here also. So we're going to have to do a little bit of math. Let me extend the page a little bit. I'm going to have to go 8 minus 5/3. I need to get a common denominator. Make that 8 over 1. We're going to multiply times 3. multiply times 3, and I'm going to get 24 over 3. 24 minus 5 is 19 over 3. So when we take the absolute value of 19 over 3, I end up with 19 over 3. I'm going to plug this over here. It says 2 times negative 5 over 3, and it says minus 3. So we're going to multiply, and we're going to say 2 times negative 5 is a negative 10 over 3 minus 3. Let me move this up a little bit. I need to get a common denominator. I'm going to multiply times 3 times 3. That's going to give me negative 9 over 3. A negative 10 and a negative 9 is going to give me a negative 19 over 3. Can my absolute value equal a negative number? This is a positive 19 over 3. This came out to be a positive 19 over 3. But this came out to be a negative 19 over 3. When I substituted that in, did it make a true statement? No. So you would cancel this out. This would be an extraneous solution, and my only good answer would be P equals 11. That's why you have to check both answers. So it's possible for both answers to be good. One could be good, one could be bad. If they're both bad, then you would tell me no solution. Okay? Let's try one more example. All right. Is absolute value by itself? No, it's not. I have a 2 in front. How do we move the 2? We're going to divide by 2. But if I divide this by 2, I need to divide this by 2 and divide this term by 2. This will cancel. And this will leave me the absolute value of 3x minus 7 equals 5x minus 4. Now in this case, we're going to work it two ways. First time, we're going to do it the same way we see it. We're going to say 3x minus 7 equals 5x minus 4. The second time we work it, we're going to say 3x minus 7 equals, remember what we have to do the second time, you have to take the opposite and take the opposite. So the opposite would be a negative 5x. The opposite would be a positive 4. Now we're going to solve these problems. Minus 3x, minus 3x. This is going to leave me with a 2x. We're going to go here, we're going to say plus 4. Plus 4. Negative 7 plus 4 is a negative 3. Divide by 2, I get x equals a negative 3 over 2. I need to check and see if this is a good answer. So we come up here, we're going to substitute it in this. Okay? So what does this say? Let me get we'll go black. This says the absolute value of 3 times negative 3 over 2 minus 7 inside the absolute value equals 5 times negative 3 over 2 minus 4. All right, so we go 3 times negative 3 is a negative 9 over 2 minus 7. I need to get a common denominator to add or subtract those fractions. So we're going to change this to negative 7 over 1. I'm going to multiply times 2. Multiply times 2. That will give me a negative 14 over 2. Negative 9 minus 14 is a negative 23 over 2. But we're taking the absolute value. It's inside the absolute value. So it's going to be a positive 23 over 2. Over here, 5 times negative 3 is a negative 15 over 2. Minus 4. We're going to put this over 1. We're going to get a common denominator. We're going to say times 2 times 2. I'm going to get a negative 8 over 2. Negative 15, negative 8 is a negative 23 over 2. Can a positive 23 over 2 equal a negative 23 over 2? No. So my answer, this guy right here, did not work. He did not work. He does not check. I would have to cancel that guy right there. That's a bad answer, okay? Or what we call an extraneous solution. All right, let's go back up here and work this again. If you need to, you can back up your video to watch that. All right, but I have to have room. So we're going to go over here and we're going to move this. We're going to say plus 5x plus 5x. That's going to give me 8x. We're going to move the 7 to the other side. We're going to go plus 7 plus 7. That's going to equal 11. When I divide by 8, I get x equals 11 over 8. Oh, yay. Another fraction. Woo! Okay. So we have to substitute this in to our problem. Okay? It says the absolute value of 3 times 11 over 8 minus 7. There's your absolute value. Equals 5 times 11 over 8 minus 4. So 3 times 11 is 33. We're still inside the absolute value. 3 times 11 is 33 over 8 minus 7. Still inside the absolute value. But we're going to make that 7 over 1. We're going to get it at a common denominator. We're going to go times 8 times 8. That will give me 56 over 8. 33 minus 56 is going to give me a negative 23 over 8. But this is inside the absolute value, so it is a positive 23 over 8. We have to see if this makes a true statement. We multiply. 5 times 11 is 55 over 8 minus 4, or 4 over 1. I'm going to get a common denominator. I'm going to say times 8 times 8. I'm looking at 55 over 8 minus 32 over 8. 55 minus 32 is going to be a 23 over 8. That's a positive 23. So does positive 23 over 8 equal positive 23 over 8? Yes, it does. So my answer of 11 over 8, when I substituted it in, it made a true statement of 23 over 8 equals 23 over 8. Okay? Is this a lot of steps? Is this a lot of work? Yes. Can we give a bunch of these on the test? No. Takes a lot of steps, takes up too much time. We might give you one of these on the test, okay? But then this is the difference. This is the difference between being pre-AP and on level. Yes, it's a little tough, but the good thing is you're smart. Okay? It takes some steps, it takes some work. But the thing is, you can't quit. You got to stay with it and work it all the way through. Okay? All right, so I've done about 5 examples. I need you to go down the right-hand side and do the evens. Do the best you can. Okay? I think it comes out to be maybe, let me count real quick. 5, 6, comes out to be about 11 problems. Okay? So do the best you can on those 11 problems. If you get stuck, email your teacher, ask for help, but I think you can do this. Just remember, get your absolute value by itself before you make a decision. Absolute value equals a positive number, work it 2 ways. Absolute value equals a negative number, stop right there, tell me it's a no solution. All right?